Hi, everybody. So while you're working on your research proposals, I wanted to talk to you a little bit about what makes a good research proposal and give you some examples of student research proposals from a year ago that worked really well. So the first thing that I wanted to remind you is that your research proposal is laying out the inquiry question or the question that you're going to want to research to pursue this entire term. So you've heard this before, but I'm going to stress again that your research question should A, be complex and interesting, right? You want to care about it. It needs to be personally meaningful, but it also needs to be interesting to an audience beyond yourself. And it needs to go beyond kind of a factual answer or a yes or no type of answer. It needs to be the kind of question that lends itself to exploration over a 4 or 5 page paper. It also needs to be narrow enough, though, that you can learn about it and write about it this term, right? You only have between now and mid-December to write this paper. It seems like a really long time, but in actuality, it goes by quickly. So those are the things that I want you to remember about the research question itself. Your research proposal, so the document where you lay out your research question, should contain 3 things. Mainly, your research question or series of related questions, sub-questions, and why it is that you want to pursue that question. What's in it for you? What's interesting about it for you? You also want to lay out a little bit of a methodology for your research. So that means things like you're going to look at scholarly sources that we use the library databases to find. Everybody's going to do that. You're going to use the internet to find some popular sources like magazines, newspapers, credible sources, online sources about your topic. You might do a little bit of kind of case study work, right? Where you observe people in their environment, you write it up. You might do some interviewing where you talk to people who are connected to or have been affected by the issue or the topic or the idea that you're pursuing. So you want to lay that out a little bit. It might change, that's okay, but you want to think about and project what you think you're going to do and how you think you're going to go about doing it. And then finally, you want a bit of a timeline for completion. So you want to be able to say, it's going to take me this long to do my research. It's going to take me this long to draft my paper. You can get a model for your timeline for completion by looking at our weekly course schedule. Okay, so I want to show you now a couple of student papers that have worked really well for this assignment. All right, so this first one was really excellent. The theme of my course last year was New York City, and so both of these papers are going to be about New York City. This one is about the September 11th attacks from 2001, and she just provides a little bit of background information about those attacks. And then what she wants to work on is she said that she wants to go below the surface level and analyze how this event has had an impact on the lives of people. I want my focus to be the psychological impact that the attacks had on people in New York, specifically the impact on children directly affected by it, in comparison to the children that are currently learning about it in today's day and age. How is the horror of the attacks different from a child who witnessed it live to a child who watched it through YouTube videos or other kinds of documentaries? So that's really kind of at the heart of her question, right? Is comparing the traumatic impact of this event on kids who were around in 2001 versus kids who are from New York who might just have heard about it sort of secondhand. She talks about why it's interesting to her a little bit in these paragraphs. And then she delineates some of her preliminary research, right? She went to this blog called Very Well Mind, wondering about media coverage and PTSD in children. She read an article in Psychology Today. She read an article in Scientific America before she decided that this was definitely the research question that she wanted to pursue. And she allowed that preliminary research, those 3 sources that she looked up and read ahead of time, to kind of inform the way that she wrote this research proposal. The methodology, she wants to find articles, books, and scholarly journals. She wants to look into some interviews, and she actually did wind up doing that in her paper. Some interviews with kids who were around, who were around during September 11th, versus kids who are just now kind of coming to terms with it. So then she literally writes out a timeline, look with all these dates on it, and that is the end of the proposal. So that is a proposal that worked really, really well. Here's another one that was also very good. This is kind of a different approach. This one is interested in looking at, that's right, college students in New York City and what they face financially. So she's saying, being 18 years old now and a college student living in New York, I thought, how much do I really spend in a day? How much does a young person in college spend in just a week, and on what? Ultimately, her main focus or her research question is, how overwhelming are the non-tuition based expenses of CUNY students? So she wound up, she establishes the importance fairly easily because she's a college student. Everybody around her are college students. She's noting how expensive it is to buy books, how expensive it is to commute. And then she's just generally interested in how much her peers spend on non-tuition based but college related expenses in any given year. So she really did a lot of interviews for this paper, and she anticipated needing to do that. But then she also looked up things like wages of various occupations. She looked up, just kind of like the average income of CUNY students, how much financial aid they get, how much they have to borrow in loans, stuff like that. And then you can see finally that there is a timeline here, right? She's got it broken down into the dates where she anticipates doing all of these things. And then finally, she's got a little bit of a reflection about why she wants to do this project and what she hopes to gain. So again, those are the things that I'm looking for in these research proposals. Only 2 pages. I'm looking for you to write out your research question, why you're interested in pursuing it, give me a bit of a methodology. You're going to look for scholarly sources, you're going to look for popular sources, maybe you're going to use some interviews, maybe you're going to do some observations, that type of thing, and then give me a timeline that matches the timeline for the semester for you to complete this project. All right, let me know in an email or in office hours if you have any questions, and we'll take it from there. Thank you.